In this video, we're going to talk about a concept called a reciprocal. So reciprocals, it's a pair of numbers or quantities whose product is 1. Okay, so let's stop and try to think about what is a pair of numbers whose product is 1. So we're looking for a pair of numbers who, when you multiply them together, you get 1. Now, we have to remember that anything times 1 is itself, not 1. That's usually the first answer that I get from 6th graders is they're like, oh, well, anything times 1 is 1. Well, no. Anything times 1 is itself. So we could think of 1 times 1 equals 1. So 1 is the reciprocal of 1. Okay. But what if we have another number, or we're looking for another pair of numbers? So let's just look at the number 2. Okay, because every number has a reciprocal. So what is the reciprocal of 2? Well, it's 1/2. Because 2 times 1/2 is 2 over 1. That's how we make 2 into a fraction, times 1 over 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 over 2 equals 1. The product of 2 and 1/2 is 1. Let's look at the number 3. Well, to get 1, when we multiply 3 times something, we multiply it times 1/3. So the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. I could rewrite 3 as 3 over 1. So 3 over 1 times 1 over 3 equals 3 over 3, which equals 1. Okay, are we starting to see a pattern here? If I take 4, the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. Okay, because 4 over 1 times 1 over 4 equals 4 over 4, which equals 1. Okay, so it seems like if we have a whole number, the reciprocal is always 1 over that whole number. But what if we have something like 4/5? Okay, 4/5 times some number has to equal 1. Well, we can't just do it over 1, or 1 over that number. Okay, well, we can, but that would require us to have a knowledge of division of fractions, which is what we're working on here. Okay, but if we think about it, when we were dealing with the numbers over here, there's a 3 in the numerator in this number, and a 3 in the denominator of this number, and a 1 in the denominator here, and a 1 in the numerator here. So let's see what happens if I put my 4 in the denominator and my 5 in my numerator. So I took this 4 that was in the denominator, or sorry, in the numerator, and put it in the denominator, and this 5 that was in the denominator and put it in the numerator. Let's see what happens. Well, we have 4 times 5, which is 20, and 5 times 4, which is 20, and 20 over 20 equals 1. Okay, so we can say that the reciprocal of 4/5 is 5/4. Let's see if that works with something like 2/3. So I take 2/3, I multiply it by 3 over 2, so I'm taking the numerator and putting it in the denominator and putting it in the numerator. I am essentially flipping over my fraction. 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 over 6 is 1. Okay, so to find a reciprocal of a number, we are essentially switching the numerator and the denominator. And so the reciprocal of 9/10 is, it's not equal to, sorry, it is 10 over 9, which equals 1. Okay, so 9/10, the reciprocal is 10/9. If we have 11/12, the reciprocal is 12/11. Okay, if we have 1/3, the reciprocal is 3 over 1, or just 3. We don't need that over 1 necessarily. Okay, which is equal to 1. So if we have a fraction, we just flip it over. to get the reciprocal. And then the only slight difference is if we have a mixed number, so if we have like 1.5, okay, we can't just say that the reciprocal is 1 and 2 over 1. That does not work. We first have to change it into an improper fraction, or just a fraction greater than 1. So this is equal to 3 over 2, and then the reciprocal of 3 over 2 is 2 over 3. Okay, and notice how we already found the reciprocal of 2 over 3 to be 3 over 2, and it works the other way. The reciprocal of 3 over 2 is 2 over 3. Okay, so those are reciprocals of each other. So if you have 2/3, the reciprocal is 3 over 2. If you have 3 over 2, the reciprocal is 2 over 3. Okay, so reciprocal, it's a pair of number whose quantities, or quantities whose product is 1. And if we have it in a fraction form, we just flip it. The numerator becomes the denominator, and the denominator becomes the numerator for our reciprocal.